I want to show you my exact workflow for how I use AI and ChatGPT specifically. You can see it in the background there, on how I'm able to produce like a month worth of content in a week. So that's about 4 or 5 videos a day between Monday to Monday. And I know you might be thinking, if you actually end up seeing this by chance before I've actually completed this week's worth of work, you might be thinking, well, there's no evidence that it's produced a month worth of work. Well, it will, and it is, and it's happening. So I really want to just jump in to show you the workflow. But first, I want to explain like why I use AI to make my content, because, you know, I don't want to be like a full like naturalist, whoever it is, and just think that writing and doing everything the legacy way is optimum or the best. Like, there's no right or wrong necessarily, but 2 words that really spring to mind for me are velocity and volume. So velocity and volume especially pertain to my work as an Amazon ads agency. Velocity is a thing of like, you know, how fast can we actually make this work? Because, you know, it's all well and good. I think Myron Golden has spoken about, you know, it's really nice if you could make $1 million in a year, but there's some people out there that are making $1 million in a month, right? And so that velocity is somewhat more impressive and more important, because given enough time, I'm sure a lot of us will succeed at anything that we put our minds to, but it's also imperative rather, to try fit that into a finite time or scale of space, right? And so volume as well. Something that popped in my head earlier today was the idea that, what if someone sat down and told you, right? What if someone sat down and said, if you post 100 videos on Instagram, or if you posted 30 videos on YouTube, by video 31 or post 101, you will start to see success. Like, it's going to be a slog at the beginning to really get it going. But once you reach a threshold number for your particular industry, then after that, you catapult, you jettison into financial freedom, you know, self-proclaimed fame, whatever it might be that you're after. What if that was just a number goal attached to it, you know? And so I remember reading in the Alex Hormozy book, where I think it was $100 Million Leads, where he spoke about a friend of his that was doing leafleting. And so he thought, oh, I could do leafleting. And he does like, you know, 100 or 300 leaflets in a day. And then he calls his friend. He's like, hey man, I've done 300 leaflets, but no one's called back for this gym. And so his friend responds saying, yeah, well, we do 1,000 a day. So, you know, maybe in 3 days time, you might start to see results. And so what if that was just it? Like, it's just I don't want to say it's a numbers game. I agree with Jeremy Miner in the sense that it's not just a matter of, if it's numbers, then maybe you're doing something wrong. But also there is an aspect of volume that's attached to this, where it will take time to warm up the account. It will take time to warm up the algorithm. Like, it will let people understand and be able to see the commitment you're making to producing content, or to be available for help rather, right? And so it just hit me thinking, well, what if it did take only 30 videos? Well, then why can't I do 30 videos in a week? You know, why do I have to wait a month to do that? Or I actually looked at one of my friends' Instagrams the other day, and he's a musician, and he's posted 330 something posts, but over the span of 3 or 4 years now, his account was made in 2021. So it just got me thinking, it's like, maybe we're not working hard enough. Like, me particularly, maybe I'm not doing enough. Maybe I'm not outreaching enough. Let me see what the limits of my capabilities of what is enough, you know? So I'm going to show you today what I've been using, and today I can actually show you this as well real quick. But this video I'm now recording is my 5th one of the day, and we can see here that this is what I'm using to track my videos. These are all getting scheduled today. We're on this one right here today, how I use AI to make content. So I made all these written plans over yesterday evening, and now executing it today. I'll do another 5, execute tomorrow another 5, and it will go on. So it's projected, the forecast is certainly in place to do 30 videos between Monday yesterday being the 24th of March, and then Monday next week being like the 31st, right? So I'm going to quickly show you just how I was doing this before and why that wasn't viable real quick. So this is kind of my work process. I was already using AI anyway, because why not, right? Like I said, there's no right or wrong. It just, you are or you aren't. At the end of the day, it's integrated into so much stuff. Like, my MacBook has AI inside of I don't want to say her word in my helper, you know what I mean? In case I trigger it. But Mac has got it built in Apple Intelligence now, so it's not really going away anytime soon, right? And so my old method was, this is really cool. So I have Sentinel, which is like my main guy. And this is really curious as well, because maybe I can do a video on this in more depth, but I ask Sentinel. I started off getting some advice on like, topics to cover and all that stuff. And then I asked it, I said, what would you like to name yourself? And then we'll go ahead and name other workers. So Sentinel is the name that it chose for itself, which is cool. And then over time, what I had was add filter, scout, engage. So real quick, filter, what filter would do was I would go on the Facebook groups for System.io, for example, Facebook groups where I'm engaged and try to be there for help, as well as like not self-promotion, but just offering some advice and engaging so that people then leak off into my page and then finally subsequently finding my YouTube channel and my services on my website. So Filter was a platform I used, or a GPT worker I call them. I use that to take any posts from the group, okay, and then it would look at the post, like if someone's asking a question or something, it would reform that question to something more like concise, and then I would take that to Engage or Clip, and it would be able to make a script for that. So Engage makes posts, or it did make posts, I don't use it anymore, and Clip makes short form scripts for like reels and stuff. And then Scout actually was made to take in YouTube transcripts and TikTok transcripts as well, and then be able to see what works on a piece of content that is doing well, and then create scripts for me to then use for videos. And then Engage, like I said, it makes posts based on the questions people ask, say in the Facebook groups, right? The reason I no longer use these three in particular is it was just taking too long. I mean, all of this up until Clip, like these are all dropped now. So I don't bother with scripts for short form. It's just a lot easier to riff off my head. It sounds better. It's more natural. Some of the scripts it gave me, I don't know if we can even see some of these, but some of the scripts it gave me were just so like salesy that I didn't really like them at all. Like this hook here where it says, are you thinking about using System.io as a booking system? Here's the truth that most people won't tell you. It's a bit like, you know what I mean? It's a bit, are you trying to make it? I just don't like it. So I liked, like, the content was coming out pretty well. Like what we're talking about was pretty good, but it just didn't sound right, didn't serve me as a purpose. So the other ones that I had were, like, say, Post Alone. He's just a version of Engage. And Scout as well. Scout was a big one to get rid of because I don't really use scripts anymore. Like videos like this, I just don't bother. I have talking points, and I'll show you the talk points I have for this video exactly, but I no longer use scripts because it would just stifle me. There were times where like I want to look at the camera like this, I want to speak directly to you, and then I'd think maybe I'm missing that line. I look, I stammer, I stutter, and then I'm a bit like, oh frick, like I'm so annoyed that I'm not saying what I'm meant to be saying, And I tried workarounds. I tried using an app called VMake where I was able to read a script, say teleprompter, or just looking slightly down a little bit, and VMake would use AI to adjust my, like, where my eyes are looking at. I no longer use VMake 2. That'll be another video, like the tools I actually use to now produce my videos at such speed. But this is how I get through the ideation and creation process. But again, it just added too many touch points. So I found myself spending a lot of time speaking to my GPT first before then getting like a script that I then wouldn't be happy about. But I spent like 2-3 hours making this script, thinking it's like the entire video ironed out. And maybe once I get that processed like shorter, then I'll just be like, hey, talk about this, give me a script, and I write it. Just wasn't working. And in actual fact, like thinking about it as well, it's more like GPT was my manager or something, I guess, because I was then getting the work from GPT, like the scripts, and then I had to go do that and perform it. So I scrapped that entirely. It just took way too long. So now I'm at this point where I only have Depth Scribe, Sentinel Junior. So Sentinel's like my high level, like I call it like my level 10 right-hand man. If I have some really high conceptual ideas, I discuss it with Sentinel and figure out whether it makes sense. It's basically like having one of my co-founders and business partners, like Leo, like it's like having him to talk to, but he's not always available because we're in different countries. So it's like having that to talk to, but also understands some of these like in-depth detail sort of stuff about, say, marketing funnels and whatnot. And then Sentinel Junior is very similar. It's similar to Sentinel, except I don't want to bother Sentinel with like too low level tasks. So if I have any generic or general thing, I talk with Sentinel Junior, like, here's some copy I'm trying to adjust, here's a plan I have for the day. It makes you like, you can help me formulate a to-do list just from my rough thoughts. Really great. This is where I spend most of my time in. And even then I've reduced it down to like once every like 3-4 days. I just don't need to. I prioritize the creation and production foremost and utmost, because like I said, if I can get to 30 published videos or articles or posts in a week, That's the velocity and volume I need for my initial goal, which is what I call the content catalog. And then, so Scribe originally started out as a GPT worker that I would give like my raw thoughts, sort of like voice memos, notes, and stuff like that on topics that I want to talk about. And then it would formulate them into prompts that I would then give to clip, depth, engage, stuff like that, you know? And again, it meant that I had like an entry point of GPT, and then it would make prompts that would direct the other GPT workers on what to do and how to do it. So we no longer use that anymore. And just as an aside as well, Sentinel actually writes the initializations for all these GPTs. So we discuss what I want them to do. I'm not sure if I can show you one. Maybe I can show you the one from Engage actually. So this is like an initialization. Yeah. So this is what Sentinel helps me draft or write rather. So it's like this really in-depth prompt that instructs this GPT worker what its role is and what it's like going to do within our like goals and stuff. And you can see here, it's really long, honestly. It'll give it like content pillars just for this one in particular. Gave it like the remixing angles I wanted to write with. These are stuff I got from like Alex Hormozy's book, The $1 Million Leads. And yeah, it gives it like a core function, core structure, really cool. But I no longer do that because again, it was just too much work. Not too much work, too much effort placed in the wrong direction. And so now what I've landed on is extremely efficient, very lean. And so I still keep Scribe, but what I do now is, I'll show you the actual process now. So what I have, so this is the one I have now for this video. What I use, this is way more efficient. And the reason I use this now as well is because I am a good writer. I enjoy writing. I enjoy talking naturally to the video, making like unscripted videos, right? Like Jeremy Miner says, it's have a script but sound unscripted. So I like that. I prefer that. It feels like more of a muscle that I am strengthening as opposed to just fobbing off the work to GPT and hoping it makes something appropriate, right? Because I'm still going to have to proofread it. And so I have to know what makes good content, good written pieces, good scripts. I have to know that what is a good version of that so that when I check GPT's work, I know, right? So I made this, and this is actually based off of the Ship 30 for 30. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but Ship 30 for 30 is primarily a Twitter sort of course that you can download. And if you have Everand or Scribd, you can actually access the Ship 30 for 30 content for free through there. And so what it talks about is what's called the atomic essays. So an atomic essay is like a short piece of content. And what I really like from Ship 30 for 30 is one, it prioritizes publishing content. It's not just about creation, ideation. It's only as good as it is if it's released. There's no good idea if no one sees it, right? Another thing they mention in Ship 30 for 30 is we're in a day and age now where something that could have been a blog post could have been, a tweet or a thread. What could have been a thread can now be maybe condensed down to a tweet. Like we don't have to make crazy long points anymore. Like we can make content that is very specific for a very particular use case, produce that and publish that. So it has this idea of like not taking too long to write stuff. So I spent yesterday writing these. The first few, do not get it twisted, were a bit tricky to get used to, but this is how I get it down. So I have my topics, and this is from Ship 30 for 30. If you go to their blog website, you can see this instruction right on there. So what I do is I pick my topics. For example, with the particular work that I do, which is something I want to turn into an agency in the next like a year or so, I call it VPS, so Vertex Platform Solutions, and I talk about how to grow small to medium-sized business, how to fulfill clients and do the work internally, and then optimizations through email and scaling through automations, delegation, AI, right? And so these are my topic buckets essentially. So I'm going to have buckets within growth, business systems, optimizations, and then through there you can see it goes down. I can do this in more detail in another video, but there's more of how I use AI to do this. And then I pick my audience. So I have my general audiences, niche, parallel industry. This is from Ship 30 for 30, but I've altered it slightly to be, instead of just being parallel to the niche audiences, my niche audience is actually people I've worked with, so I know exactly what they need and how to talk to them directly. Parallel would be similar to these people, right? And then we choose the format the approach and the type. So the type is specific because of YouTube. Again, this isn't on Ship 30 for 30. This is something I've added. But the approach would then be actionable, aspirational. Example for this one, I'm doing an analytical. Like, here are the numbers. Here are the reasons why I'm showing you using AI content to produce content is good. And then the approach, you can see here, I'm doing sort of a case study or strategy breakdown and behind the scenes, because I'm showing you exactly what I do personally. But all the other ones, I've ticked different things. I've seen my audience here as well. And then the type, here you go, it's a hybrid. I'm going to do, like I am now, it's a face cam as well as a screen recording. And then I'll have my CTA focus. At the end of every piece of content, I ask for some sort of action. Majority of what I'm producing right now, it's just going to be, I call it engagement bait. It doesn't mean it's bad. It's not a bait and switch or anything like that. But I'm just saying I'm going to ask people either to comment, share, tag someone, or subscribe. Like, that's just it. As I actually develop lead magnets and offers, that's when I might start directly making content for my offers. And then this is how we craft our title. Again, this is a Ship 30 for 30 thing. I'll explain like who's it for, what I'm writing about, how I want to make them feel, the outcome that I'm promising at the end. And then this isn't applied all the time. It's like how much or how many pieces of information. It's really good if you want to have like, 6 ways to use AI to such and such, right? But this is one way that I can use AI to make my content production faster, more streamlined, more effective. So now this is really the crucial part. I do this portion myself. Like, I create the title, I create the outline, I write this expansion. Like, everything I'm talking about in this video, I've already predefined in my head and wrote it down. This is really crucial because I write this as an atomic essay. Like, this is done. Like, I could have just used just this, right? And I could have also used like, all I have to do is formulate it, but this is finished. So the idea here as well is really particular. It's to not be too reliant on the AI, right? Because like I said, my previous method was heavily centralized on GPT. It was also like not decoupled at all. So if GPT ever went down for a few hours, I probably wouldn't be able to make content with my previous workflow. Whereas with this, like, I can still produce. It might not be as like robust or as clean, but it's still my work. Like, this is really important. And so this is effectively done. Like, if I didn't have GPT, then yeah, I would have to just format this appropriately. But for videos, this isn't a problem. These are like my talking points. These are things I want to make sure I communicate across in the video. And you can see here, we're on this section here, like my current workflow. So this is where I'm telling you about like how I use my GPTs now and just why as well, right? So I write this. So we're literally at this portion here. I write this. And then for this particular one, I give it to depth, right? This is my GPT worker, right? I give it to depth. All I do is I download this as a PDF, and then I've already got the prompts in here. Okay, it's also in the project instructions. So then all I have to do, you can see up here, I just paste it in. I just paste in the PDF, click send, and then depth will give me an option of SEO optimized titles for YouTube. I've now started to get it to actually upgrade the expanded portion as well, because I can then take this into a written post later down the line. And then after that, it then gives me my YouTube description and the call to action at the end. But the really important thing is it knows what I want it to do based on like just everything previously, right? It's aware of the entire thing, as well as in the project instructions, it's got all the information about what we're doing as VPS, right? And so once I give that in, I just paste that in here. So I just have like a history of it. And then that's it. And then all I do after that is I go to my spreadsheet. And this is something I'll talk about in time. But basically, like I said, with Atomic essays, I now have made what I call atomic content. So I'm able to do written pieces where I create, like, I choose the topic, target audience, the status. It's got a bunch of other stuff in here as well. These are just the sections from the tool, like the options in the templates in here. Right, and then I'm able then to put the title, the series as part of, again, similar thing here, all the extra information, but then I can track this. So right now, this is my main goal. Like I said, it's to get these 30 pieces done in the next week. Okay, and I'm on target. Today I've done the 5. It took me planning yesterday. I technically should have planned it on the Sunday to be able to start uploading from Monday to Sunday, but I'm going to do Monday to Monday. And so, like, the last day will be the following Monday where I'll schedule my last few videos. Of course, I don't mind. It's 5, nearly 6 p.m. here, but I'm going to just schedule these on YouTube for like 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I don't care, because no one's going to see them off the bat. We'll find out if YouTube is going to penalize me for being overactive. But the point is, I'm trying to really see what my limits are. I'm trying to stretch this thing out to really see, like, will it break, will it won't, you know? And that's where we're at here. And so this is my Atomic content. And you can see really quick some of my old ones. I kept these just to show you in this particular video, actually. But I had like my old drop-down data. This is how it looked like before. These are the drop-down data for all of these pieces. Then maybe that's too much depth for this video, actually. But now it's just coming from here. I'll do another video where I actually talk about my Atomic content as a thing, a tool that I use. But that's the main thing. So like, it literally just goes into GPT, it spits it out, and then I'm able to make these videos. I have these talking points. It's really cool because I don't normally get a chance to look at these talking points because I don't want to stifle the video. But at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter, like, you know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's like the most I want to show. It's really effective, really efficient, especially because I'm no longer using all these other GPTs. So I've reduced that workload right down. And so all it takes is like, so I can write in after I've recorded this, uploaded it, scheduled it, done the thumbnail and everything. I'll then sit down for an hour and a half while I have, like, you know, a cup of tea or something, watch some TV, and I'm going to write out my next 5 videos. And then I get GPT to just spruce up those those talking points as well as scripting. And then I'll list it in here. And then tomorrow I wake up and I just start recording. Like, it's super straightforward. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to optimize too much. You can actually see in some of these GPTs here that I did try GPT 4.5 with Engage. Not worth it. Like, if I'm going to optimize this in the future, it might be maybe trying another GPT. Like, I've heard Grok is pretty good. But right now, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, I tried GPT 4.5. That was terrible. It just didn't give the same response as what I'm getting from my current ones, which are just on 4.0. Here are my instructions. I guess you can see those too. It's no big deal. It shows my core values of what I'm doing. It has like my actual like flow, my tone and communication style, everything. And then it has all it has what the actual GPTs do. So I don't have Sentinel in here. Yeah, I don't have Sentinel. There he is. Sentinel's here, but I don't have Sentinel Junior in here. And that's no big deal. It's not really broken it at all or anything. On the web version of ChatGPT, you can actually add in files. So when this is a bit more populated, I'll be able to feed this into GPT, and then it doesn't matter if the memory gets full or anything like that. It'll have like my actual processes, resources, materials all there. And because I've written it all first, it has my tone of voice and my communication style. So it's really effective. But in terms of optimizing the future, for sure, I don't think I'll try anything too drastic. So far, this is amazing. This works. It's efficient. It's fluid. I also don't want there to be just a single GPT that does it all. You know, because I could have used Sentinel to do all of this without a problem, I don't think. But I don't want it to be too centralized, you know. It takes a lot of memory sometimes as well, so I have to keep clearing the memory of GPT every now and then. But it's good to have like specific workers. So like I said, with Scribe and Depth, they're initiated or initialized with a very specific role and responsibilities. So all I have to do is I don't have to describe anything to them. I've described it once. I just paste in, like, here's my raw thought, or here's a PDF. Like, both of these now, Scribe and Depth, take a version of this PDF, right? The other version for written content simply just doesn't have type here. It's everything else except type. And instead of having a description or anything at the bottom, it's just these same points. It's a headline, outline, expansion. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing more to it. I will do another video where I actually go more in depth of the Atomic content, because I have what's called like my content map. That's how I created all of these, how I decided on my audiences, call to actions, everything like that. And then it also has the content structure and everything else. So this is something I do intend to release at some point once it's proven its worth to me, especially because I don't want to just start selling it because it looks cool. Like, I want it to be actually of some value. So if you want to see more of this, especially, like, definitely subscribe and be aware of the next videos to drop. But absolutely comment below, because I think I could give out like a beta testing version as it is. I do want to try it out. This has like my Facebook written. It has my YouTube. It has Reels, but Reels I'm doing slightly different. So I don't actually plan these per se. Reels are more like impromptu, you know. I want them to be real. I want them to be raw. And that's part of my optimization moving forward. I want to be able to make a reel or a voice note, take the transcription of that and then give that to Scribe as like, this is my raw thought, because over time I'm going to start thinking in this manner. You know, I'm going to always think, if I'm saying something on a reel, who's the audience I'm directing it to? What's the topic I'm talking about? Keep it really concise, really narrow. Maybe I'll have an approach. Maybe I'll have a specific format as well. Once I nail those into my structure in my head, all my communications will come out like this. So then I should be able to take the voice notes or the reels, which are raw and ready, give that to Scribe, and it'll be essentially like giving it a version of this, and then get like a brushed up version that would actually be like something I can post, something that's formulated especially. And then I want to also add in a Pinterest version, a Pinterest tracker in here, which might result in a new GPT worker. I don't think so, but we'll see. Again, these are just things I'm testing out. But for now, this is kind of ready to go. This is working really well, like being able to just choose my stuff, make sure I'm tracking it, make sure it's getting done. Right now, it just tracks with notes, but after the 30 have been posted, I'm starting to get traction on YouTube and Facebook. Then I'll also start tracking metrics like, views, likes, the key metric being whatever call to action I'm guided on and stuff. So this will evolve in the next like 30 days or so. But so far, so great. And like I said, if you want to know more about this in particular, comment below or send me a message on the Facebook. Again, that's in the description. You can find me there. And otherwise, subscribe and you'll be able to see more videos of this and in the making. So yeah, thank you, and I'll see you in the next one.